Welcome to Pocket Watch Podcast. I'm Zach.
Cruz.
Jake.
Brian.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I know y'all heard that. As always, we have another guest up in the building. I guess at this point, it's just becoming more common to have guests.
No, we try. Look, we go for good guests. I know if you like us, if you like the content we put out, you know it's like accountant, a realtor, entrepreneur type man. We love having guests like Brian on. This is amazing. This is fire. We can't wait to get into certain things. Just like last week, you heard that 94 CEO guy.
Yeah, and actually, the 94 CEO guy actually looks for people like him because he's like pretty much the wholesaler. So he gets it under contract, and then he tries to sell it to investors like him. So this is actually like a perfect connection, like a follow up of what we had last week. So basically, what you guys heard last week with the 94 CEO guy is basically he's the one that kind of like provides deals for that and tries to find people like him to be able to purchase the contracts, everything that he has. So that's what that is.
And this is another thing where like I know a lot of you guys are like always thinking about how do I get different streams of income? How do I get into real estate and not just being a realtor or actually trying to move the money around and stuff like that. And then you do other business too, right?
Yeah, I mean,
or have done other businesses.
Have done other businesses.
Cool. So we got experience.
Right now, it's fully invested in and flipping houses.
Basically. Hell yeah, that's good. This is the most experience we've had on the podcast before. This is great. This is awesome.
Yeah, I would say, definitely for
hell
sure.
Yeah,
I would say
man.
so.
Cool.
But yeah, and once again, guys, thank you guys for joining us for another week. We do appreciate your guys' continuous support. We do want to shout out the Block 105 family. We do appreciate you guys. If you guys are listening on here, if you guys are listening 2 weeks ago, we did an episode, and at the end of the episode, this man proposed to his girl. So if y'all want to go ahead and check that out, because it didn't make it on the air because we only have a 1 hour time slot, and it happened at the end of the episode. So if you guys didn't go hear that, go ahead and hop on our social media platforms, or you can check us out Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, at Pocket Watch Podcast, spelt like you hear it basically. But go ahead and check that video. It was a dope episode. And then any other time, I think the last week's episode with 94 CEO, that was also cut off because we only have 1 hour on the radio station. So if you guys ever want to listen to full episodes or get early view of it, because we drop on Mondays, you guys won't hear it until Wednesday. So if you want to check it out earlier, you can go ahead and check us out online. And if you guys mess with us, go ahead and give us a follow, like, subscribe, anything like that on our social media platforms. So yeah, we appreciate you guys.
We're getting better every week, baby.
Yes, sir.
Every week, man. Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's hop into it.
So we got Brian on here. This is super exciting. I know, like Jacob's new into real estate right now. He's becoming a realtor. Yeah. He kind of so he's in this world.
I don't know if you know, but Brian is a Keller Williams realtor too. So he's in the same family as you.
You're a realtor as well?
Yeah, I did that for a long time. I'm actually still licensed in Rhode Island, which is where I'm from. I moved down here a couple of years ago, but I still maintain the license there. I didn't get a license down here. I thought about doing it, but I didn't. So, what
would be the benefits of somebody like you? So, like, what is what you do right now? Like your main thing right now? Just so we'll work backwards.
Sure. Okay. So, essentially, what I'm doing is I'm going after leads. Right. I'm investing in finding leads through different means, paying for advertising, finding them on my own. Leads being people who are looking to sell their house, right? Yeah. That's a difficult thing right now in an environment where everybody's selling their houses very easily and there's not much for sale. And I'm hoping to buy a house at a discount to market value. It might need some work, it might not, and then we put it back for sale. Basically flipping houses. That's what I'm primarily doing. In terms of as if I was a realtor, it helps in the sense that I could do my own transaction and save paying out a commission.
Yeah.
But that takes time and effort as well.
Yeah.
And also it's good to have another professional in front of you helping you out, protecting you on that end rather than trying to do everything yourself.
On your own.
Yeah.
Definitely for sure.
That's a good point, man. Yeah. Like most successful people learn how to use other people.
Yeah.
Good,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And it's like, you could do it yourself, but like your bandwidth is now, your quality is going to start dropping on certain spots. And
you only have so much time in a day too.
Exactly.
On top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I may save some money. I definitely would save money on commissions over the year, but how many houses, how much fewer houses would I buy because I was sitting there concentrating on saving myself some commissions?
Exactly.
It doesn't work out. So.
And you got that work-life balance too. Like you got a family and stuff like that too. So it's like,
oh yeah,
you got a big family, man. How many kids you got again?
I got 6 kids.
Yeah, man.
Shit.
You got a big family.
My stepdaughter Juliana, she's 20, but she still lives with me. But she helps out, a lot. But the other kids are all kind of young. Yeah, I got 9-year-old twin girls, a 5-year-old girl, a 2-year-old boy, and then the
Twins.
newborn last December. So she's only a few months old.
Hell yeah, man. Congrats, bro. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome, man. No, but that's good. That's a good little, nice little gem you just put in there. Because I think even like with football, I just think of like, there's only one person. And sorry to relate this to football. I'm a football fan.
I like football. Let's
but
talk
like,
football.
I feel like Bill Belichick is one of the guys that is like one of the only guys that did everything himself, right? Like he's like the GM, he's the coach, he's this. Every other person that tried that failed, right? Like I think Bill O'Brien was the most recent case where he was GM, coach, everything. You're not going to be the best. Like if you put the best people in place for those different segments, you probably have a better chance of being better, you know? And then the biggest thing is like time. Time means a lot.
Absolutely. And I probably have a tinge of Bill Belichick in that sense that I do struggle to delegate, you know. So I mean, I've done it with the real estate agent, but there's other things I really need to get other people involved with, and I tend to do too many things on my own. And but you're right. You got to delegate things to grow. You know? You can only get so far doing everything on your own.
Yeah, especially because I know you mentioned. So you're licensed in Rhode Island right now.
Yeah.
Right. So do you do a lot of deals in Rhode Island currently, or outside of Florida?
Not really. I've been trying to, you know, just being from there and having a lot of connections there. I've been trying to do some deals. We actually, early on, when I started doing flips down here, we got into contract for a piece of land up in Middletown, I lived in Middletown most of my life. And I was hoping to build a house there, but that deal ended up falling through. There were some issues about an easement that the seller was playing games on and things like that. So that ended up not working out. And there's been a couple other deals where I've made offers and I've been in on things and think I'm going to do something. And a big house in Plymouth, Mass, we were going to try to get in on, but nothing's come through yet. And I'm so busy down here. It's just hard to, concentrate up there. But that's ideally I would do a couple things up there.
Yeah, because that's the first thing I was thinking about when you mentioned that. Like doing any deals outside of Florida, it's like, I feel like when you live somewhere and you know a lot of people in one spot, like you get a good feel for what the market's like and stuff like that. Like, like right now, somebody that's doing business in like Oklahoma or something might not have the slightest clue of like the market, what's going on in Florida and stuff. And to expand out, and do it correctly, it might take, having somebody out there doing the market research and stuff like that for you.
Definitely to a certain extent. Yeah. I think as you get much more experience as a real estate professional, and especially if you're in the investment side of it, you get pretty good. Yeah. To the point where, like we bought a condo in North Carolina in a place called Conover, North Carolina. I've never been there in my life. I've been in North Carolina, but never to Conover. And honestly, I never set foot in this place. Now, this is kind of a risky situation, but we bought a place we never set foot in with a tenant in it that we had to deal with evicting. That was the troubled situation that these people had. Within 15 minutes, I knew what I wanted to pay for the property, and that having never set foot there. So now I'm not recommending people do that, but you get to a point where you can kind of, you can look at the data, in places you've never been and sort of figure it out. Where I think the real advantage in the end comes from, like, say, Rhode Island from me, for instance, is the people out there, right? If you want to rent it out, you got property managers, you got contractors you know in your whole life. You don't have to go out and find that stuff. That's where it gets tough. If you're buying something in another place, you got to find people out there, right? Or know somebody who knows somebody out there,
right? And does that trust level have to be a little different too, versus like if you have people working for you here that you could kind of have a quick phone call with, or go see if you need to.
I mean, you're going to want more. You're going to want highly professional people. You're not going to roll the dice as much because down here it's like, hey, if something goes wrong in Ocala, that's an hour and a half drive. If something goes wrong in Ohio, that's that's a airplane flight. Wasted a few days.
Definitely, that's true for sure.
Yeah, so that's pretty dope. All right, so right now you're pretty much trying to buy properties at a discount. Do the things that a lot of people don't want to do, which is mainly probably the reason they're selling it for a discount, right? Like it probably needs to be fixed up.
Yeah, often it's been let go. There's significant repairs, or sometimes they're a hoarder and there's just a bunch of stuff there. Sometimes they're not any of those things, but it feels like that when you get there because simply life has overwhelmed them for different reasons. A lot of times
financial burdens,
or elderly person whose spouse has passed away, a few years ago, and they've tried to stay where they're at and maintain the property, but they're not the greatest health and they're by themselves, and all of a sudden the house gets in pretty rough shape pretty fast,
So the main thing is like quick cash. Like I need to sell this quickly, more so than outside of going through a realtor or something like that.
the speed is important. The convenience probably overall, like speed is convenience. Sometimes it's not important to them about the number really. It's just a matter of unburdening them. From this property. They just want to. My grandkids are in Kentucky, and I just want to go. And I know I should. I could do this, I could do that, but I don't got the strength to do it. I can't do it because of X, Y, Z. And you can come in and just take it over, and that's great. And I can get the cash, and I can just go start spending quality time with my family up there.
Yeah, man.
That's how it comes down to for people. It's not really about haggling over numbers. I think you're in the wrong business if you start just going like, I'll give you this, like a car deal. Like $1,700. It's really not how you go about it. You're trying to help people. I know that's kind of hard for people to wrap their heads around. Like, well, how could a guy who's making a cash offer at less than market value, how's that helping anybody? But it honestly is. There's situations where people just cannot list a house on the market for various reasons, and they need someone like you to come in and sort of solve those problems.
Yeah. And that's 100% true, because I just going through like the buying process, there's a lot of houses you're not looking at because, like, I did FHA or something
FHA
like that.
Loan,
Right.
FHA loan, yep.
So there's a lot of houses that my realtor was telling me off rip, like, oh, you probably can't buy this house because it still needs this, it still needs that. So then on the other side, the seller is like, oh, I can't even sell this house to this big market of people, which is most people. Not everybody has money to put 20% down or like what you would be offering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's even better. It's like, I'm not just getting 20%. I'm getting more than that, even though it's at a discount. But I'm not going through all this shit I need to go through to put it on the market, period.
And on top of that, a property is just a pre-approval until the final clear to close.
Right.
You know what I mean? And once appraisal, and a lot of people got to do appraisals to even get approved and stuff like that. And somebody could put a property under contract, and their lending company say, nope, we're good, thank you. You know what I mean?
And FHA is on the high end of that spectrum, on the opposite way. So for a lot of people, FHA is the only way that they're gonna practically be able to get a house. And so that's the best part of it, right? 3.5% down. That opens the door, right? Saving up 20%, especially with prices as they're going up. That's kind of really tough.
Yeah.
The problem with that one, the hurdle with that one is it's more regulatory, right? So like there's, like you said, there's standards. You got to make sure everything's painted if it needs paint, or there's all sorts of like little things that the appraiser who comes down, the guy who evaluates the house, to check off on it and say this is approved for FHA. You
Heavy
can get that
on
stuff
the
done.
appraisal,
and the appraisal itself is tighter, So in this market, that's where a lot of the problem is too. We've had this problem, so we're trying to sell the house for as much as we can sell it for, obviously, from our end, but with the market going up every month, sometimes the appraisal is just not going to come in, because the appraisal is the comps, the comparative sales of what's already sold just aren't catching up with the speed that the sales are increasing. And so like an FHA appraiser is going to be, is going to scrutinize that more, than a conventional loan. So,
and you know what I will say though, like, cause I know people that are probably listening to this probably think that a lot of people that do what you do are like scam artists, and they're like ugly people, stuff like that. But if you guys don't know, I handle majority of I handle basically all of his closings for the most part, and I've actually done a closing for him, and I went to do the buyers. There's a property that you sold, and I don't remember the people's name, but anyways, I went to them, and they were FHA, and they were telling me, I remember it was like a younger couple, and they were telling me that you gave them the property even though somebody offered more because you felt like it was better for them. I don't remember who it was, but I remember they were FHA loan. You told me that somebody outbidded them, and I don't remember what the reason why, but you said that they told me that you chose them over the person that outbidded more than them, which that right there just goes to show a lot for character too, because you could have made an extra $5,000 to $10,000 or something like that off the property, whatever it was, but you were like, you know what, let me give it to them, and you kept the price at what it was, and in the market what this is right now, you probably could have made easily $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 more than what you probably got off of it from that, but you still gave it to them just to kind of like help everything out with it, so like that says a lot for the character too, which I think is, I just want to point that out.
For sure.
No, I mean, I help where I can, I'm not Santa Claus. I can't just say, hey,
money's money.
Here's a house, $35,000, but yeah, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of times where where the margins are not that big of a deal, or if we can help out, we can. There's a charity group that is trying to buy a what house I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm not going to bog down the details, but they're trying to make, it's a large house and needs a ton of work, but they're trying to turn it into a house for women who are in tough financial situations who may be pregnant, and need assistance or place to live, to get back on their feet.
Sure.
We really shouldn't have gone with that offer, but we did, because I thought it was something, cool. But at the same time, again, I'm not Santa Claus. Did we just throw every standard out the window? No, I thought it had a shot, but realistically, if I was just going by the numbers, I would have just been like, sorry, I'm not going to deal with that right now. Let's just go with this other buyer who we did have another buyer.
That's dope, man. That's
so we try to help where we can, and going into it again, I know there's sharks out there, and we were talking about this before the show, but I'm not one of those type people. I go in there, I have a checklist to say, hey, why don't we put this for sale? Why don't you get a realtor? I've helped people get a realtor. A lot of houses we don't buy, right? I would like to buy every house. I don't buy every house. A lot of them I do recommend a realtor because that just makes the most sense. But there are houses where that does not make sense. And they do need someone to come in and just sort of take care of what they got and get out now. And for that, if they did end up getting a realtor and putting it on the market, it's going to sell for pretty much in the range we bought it because you're not going to get FHA. You're not going to get a first-time home buyer. You're looking for somebody who's going to fix up and invest in it because it needs tons of work, thousands of dollars just to take out all the junk, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that takes time in itself, finding the realtor, putting on the market. And it's like, hey, I just want to leave 2 weeks from now and move on. And for that, then we can help. And when it comes to that, we're happy to help, and it works out for everybody. But we're definitely not trying to just, youtrick people into selling houses. It doesn't work that way.
And that might
anyways,
help. That might, I mean, I don't know. And those that don't understand yet, you're buying the house for a discount with like upfront money. And it's, for the most part, it is helping people that don't want to get it FHA ready or ready to put on the market, trying to fit all the standards. That's, at that point, your job to make it fit the standards. Do you sell it any in which way? Like conventional FHA, like just put on the market, period?
Well, we can't sell FHA. Even let's say I get a house and it's in perfect condition. We have nothing to do to it. And that sometimes happens. You can't sell FHA right away. You have to. The FHA regulations have a rule that says you have to go 90 days before you can, from the time you buy it to the time you list it for sale, before it can go as an FHA.
Holy shit!
Available.
So you're consistently under 90 days, huh?
Usually. I mean, I'd like to say I'm always, it should be, but I'm not. I've had some that have gone a while because we've been backed up, and we do end up listing FHA. And there's a difference. When you list FHA, you get a lot more, much bigger pool of buyers.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily always the best thing because, again, of the hurdles, unfortunately. I know that they're putting very little down, and that what if this place doesn't appraise, and they have, the banks know it too, right? So from the bank's perspective, look at the risk they're taking, right? If somebody's putting 20% down on a house, if the appraisal's a little bit off, or, I don't think the bank's freaking out. But if you're only putting 3.5% down,
that appraisal is
there's a lot more risk, right? So again, we help where we can, but sometimes somebody comes in with a cash offer or, conventional financing, they're putting 30% down. You got no choice but to try to go with that rather than to sort of get into a possible situation with FHA.
Yeah. And I do think, like, going back to what you said, like being upfront, like helping people find realtors and this and that, I feel like that's a good, not like a strategy, but I feel like that does help you because those that may be a little iffy going into the process, if you're upfront and you're this and that, even if they know, like if they don't know how big of a discount it is or something like that, and then they do find out eventually, then they might get cold feet or come at you saying, hey, what's going on, Brian? Like, well, how come you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's been here for one of them where I if that happens, even on the day of the closing on a property where they were selling it to us, she had a question about something we had gotten confused about. She thought we were going to pay her taxes, right? When we said the closing costs, we weren't really talking taxes. And I did explain it, but perhaps I explained it poorly. I don't recall the exact conversation, but I told her that too. I said, hey, maybe I didn't do a good job explaining it.
Yeah.
But I gave her the option. I said, we can stop this right now. I'm not gonna go get a lawyer and hold you guys to this. If you're not happy and don't want to do this, we can just stop this.
Yeah.
And they ended up wanting to do it because it made sense for them.
Right.
But I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to sit there and be like, we have a contract,
Right.
Screw you. I'm not going to do anything like that.
Especially in a world where all that shit, like maybe like to you guys, and I'm around 3 people that are in real estate a lot. It may be second nature, a lot of these things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like to the regular person, all these little details and stuff like that, like that's not inherent to somebody's mind when they think about,
right.
Let's just sell it, let's get rid of it,
Absolutely. They just, it's human nature. You're not in that business and you're just like, hey, you're just some fat cat up there looking to make a bunch of money, and why can't you just sell me the house? And
And on top of that, you also do another thing to add to it is you cover all closing costs. The only thing that the people have to pay is taxes. You cover all the closing costs, which is easily a couple $1,000s on each closing that you cover for the sellers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you assist with that too. I mean, and that might be part of the way that you help them feel more comfortable. But that's money that you're coughing out that you're not even obligated to cough out. You know what I mean? And that's on every transaction. At least from what I've seen, is you cover all closing costs. You cover the title insurance. You cover
every time
the title fees. You cover everything that I've seen, and that's another thing that you have to cough up too. And that's I feel like that's a really good kind of a good offer to have and bring to the table too with that kind of. But
it's
a great offer,
man.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not just closing costs. I mean, we try to solve problems, So, we just got in a contract yesterday on a house where these people live in Virginia. Mm-hmm. The house is in Ocala. It's been a family home for years. Apparently, it's in the mother's name. I've been dealing with the son who helps her out, but apparently his sister, her daughter, is just living there and is not paying rent and refuses to leave, and it's just giving them all sorts of problems, And so rather than deal with a very kind of testy situation between family and whatnot, they had paid $3,500 for a lawyer, but we basically said, get your money back. We'll just take it from here. Yeah. And we'll just continue it. And it's a tough situation no matter what, right? It's family and all that.
Yeah.
But for them, that was huge. Just that we would just take it. We'll close in a couple of weeks. You'll get your money. You don't have to worry about if they leave or they don't. We'll just take it from here. And so for that, we have resources to deal with that, and we deal with situations like that all the time. For other people, it can be a real, especially when you're far away, out of state like that.
Yeah.
So for them, it made sense. That was when, and they knew that they would have to probably sell it at a cheaper price than. But they don't even know what the condition of the property is, and this guy hadn't even been inside of it in 20 years.
Yeah, he could, and the son could get angry and just start smashing everything up.
Yeah, and so in this case, we have to make a lower offer too because we can't even get inside. We have no idea. We have to assume almost that we're going to have to do a major rehab in there.
Is that recent? Is that a recent thing that just happened?
This just happened last night.
Oh, so that's still to play out because I was going to ask, how did that go?
We can follow up on this one. I'm sure it'll be interesting as we go. Man. But. Yeah, so you got to assume you kind of do the math, and I explain that. I explain up front. I'm just like, look, this is going to be lower because I can't even get inside. We just don't know. And
but you're providing and we talked about that last week. Going into these conversations or any transaction you're doing, where's the value you're providing? You know what I mean? It's I'll give you a less monetary value because of the circumstances and stuff. But here's outside of monetary value, I'm gonna help you deal with this whole situation, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's super sick. But so for somebody like you right now, in Florida, doing what a lot of people would like to do as far as in the real estate business, buying and selling, pretty much flipping houses and stuff. What you mentioned, connections and resources that you need in these different situations. What kind of different resources have you made connections with or have acquired to help you have this smooth process right now?
Okay.
What is the necessity? If somebody wants to do what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of if you
contractors, right?
Yeah, network in general. So learn how to network. I mean, that's just
hell yeah.
No matter what, if you're looking to be a software engineer or
anything,
restaurateur or real estate, whatever, just network.
Yeah,
I think perhaps real estate is even more critical than most fields. But now, again, I grew up in a real estate family. So my father was a real estate broker. And he also he was into retail. Where I'm from, Newport, Rhode Island, is kind of a historical town. It's a tourist town, and it's in between New York and Boston, so it gets a lot of tourists in the summer. So he had actually these retail gift shops that he would run too, and I grew up around that too. So I grew up around business in general, right? Retail, serving customers, him in real estate. I got an agent's license. I've been up and down. I've had some spectacular failures I could talk about too. But the point is, so I had a lot of experience coming down here and ready to go. I was ready to go.
And at what point did you come down here? How old were you? What?
Well, it's just.
I know that's another question. This is
my second stint in Florida. So I came down here, I think, right after COVID. So 2 years ago, about 2 years ago.
Fuck yeah.
And then prior to that, I think around 2013, I had come down here and spent about a year, almost a year.
When? In 2017, you said?
2013,
2013?
Yeah,
okay.
And my wife really loves Florida. She did back then, and we thought, let's go try it out, you know. And I was working my tail off at the time for like a luxury apartment community.
Okay.
And
what were you doing for them?
I was renting apartments, helping manage. I was like a manager, not the manager, but the assistant or whatever manager.
Okay. Busting ass.
Yeah, and not making much, but
right.
I didn't mind it. I grew to like it, but she got real homesick, and we had my parents had some health issues, so we ended up moving back. And we were only here about a year, but then we had in our minds to come back down at some point, you know. And I was looking for different business opportunities to get into and whatnot. And I ended up buying into a business called Homevestors, which is a franchise, you know, that sort of works with flipping houses. You know?
Nice. But
do you need to do that? No. I mean, if you're just starting out, I think network, go to, you know, a lot of the generic things people say, but they absolutely work and they're true. You know, just go find, there's real estate clubs. There's a lot of investor clubs and stuff like that. You can go to the meetings, join up and network with some of the older cats in there who are looking to mentor somebody, right? Yeah. People just, it's human nature. We love to take somebody younger and teach them, pass on the wisdom that we have. It's just human nature, right? So go press the flesh, go to those things.
Especially if they're in a mentorship type program or a club or something.
Yeah, you know, and just, one of the things I've learned over and over and over again, sometimes I forget, but you just keep talking.
Yeah.
In this business and business in general, just keep talking.
Yeah.
Stuff will happen. You think you can figure it all out. Like, I'll do this and I'll do. No, it won't happen the way you plan it, but just keep talking and opportunities will come up where you think there's no opportunity. And the places where you do think there's an opportunity, it won't work out. But it's where you don't expect it. So just keep talking. It's just a numbers game. Eventually, opportunities, doors will open. You'll find the right people, learn from people who do it well, copy what they do.
Yeah, that's the blueprint.
You know, it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. I didn't come up with this idea, you know, and that's basically it, you know. Yeah. And then you gotta just business stuff, you know. You got to be entrepreneurial. You got to be willing to take risk, because that's the other thing. This all sounds nice and happy.
That's the next level.
We're spending a lot of money, you know, and taking a lot of risk to do this, you know.
Yeah, definitely, that's for sure.
You know, so it's not as simple as, you know, like Monopoly money here or something like that. Like, I bought this house, I'm building hotels. No. You're not doing that, you know. So
there's stress and risk.
Oh yeah, you gotta have a personality makeup to handle that. If you don't, you're gonna freak out. You know,
and people find out, like, people that want to do what you're doing, they find out very quick that they're not willing to take that amount of risk on or something like that. It's hard. Yeah,
I think a lot of people would do these things if. Yeah. Like, I would have, like, washboard abs if I didn't have to put in the time to do it and the diet, right? You know, but I'd love it. I think everybody would, right? But we're not all made to do that, you know? And sometimes you can make yourself into that with hard work and effort and all that, but I'm not that guy, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing in business and life. You know, people complain about jobs, but most people love the security of a job. Like, they bitch about the lack of freedom and, you know, I have to work for this boss, but they like the fact that they just sort of do their thing. What their tasks, they clock out and they get their paycheck.
Yep.
When they want the freedom and it seemingly the sexiness of doing, like, investing or something like that, but you got to work your ass off for one thing. Like, you absolutely have to work your ass. You're the boss. There's nobody above you to complain to or look to to save your ass. You just got to make it happen.
It's almost less freedom. I love the quote where it's like, I turned my 9 to 5
to 24/7. Yeah, I was gonna say that. That's like what I was going to with the two.
That's it. That's 100% it. Like, me personally, like, I'm an accountant, so, like, I am one of those people. Like, I admire people like you because you can take on certain levels of risk. Where I see risk, like, oh fuck, what's going on here? You know what I mean? But and to that networking point, even in the corporate world, like, hires, like, I think it's like 70% of hires are from who you know. It's not about Indeed or about submitting resumes and stuff like that. Like, that's a piece of it, but as soon as that person has even a little bit less of a resume than you, but they know the manager that's doing this and that, that's the job. And that's, like you said that goes to everything, probably more so in real estate and stuff, but corporate world, it's the same thing.
I mean, they have all these systems and these improved apps and these ways to mine data to tell you who the perfect candidate. It's still human beings. Connection. You know what I mean? You automatically, subconsciously know you're working with somebody. You know the people that are going to get stuff done and don't give you headaches and solve problems without having to come back to you all the time. And you're just going to gravitate to those people. You know what I mean? Because you know who they are, and they just, when you call upon them, they do what they got to do, and they don't give you a headache. You figure it out fast, you know, and no matter what they say about this resume. I mean, I know in the corporate world you got to have a bachelor's degree and you got to this and that, but you know, it says something about you to do that. I mean, it takes a certain, you know, applying yourself and dedication and whatnot to go, especially when you're younger and, block out all the noise and focus and get a degree. So it does say something about you, but like that's not. I mean, it's not required. At all.
And just like in my job, I know a lot of people with degrees that aren't shit. You know what I mean? But and then people that don't have degrees that are probably the best employees in our company. Like the things you don't learn in school, even going and get your degree, is things like you said, like problem solving, like things like that, getting the job done, not complaining, like things like that. Because you do get a lot of people, especially my age, like our age, we're kids. So like a lot of kids coming straight out of school think they deserve the world. And it's like, I don't need that person. I need this person that worked hard as shit, or and has this experience and knows how to solve. At the end of the day, the person that's hiring you, they're hiring you to solve problems that they can't solve right now, or they don't want to solve right now. Yeah, 100%, man.
And youth is a marker in and of itself. So you have an advantage in the sense that if you're a business or if I'm hiring somebody, youth, you generally just can't screw up too much by the time you're 25 to make a difference, right? Or if you do, it's kind of like, hey, that's what you do when you're in your 20s. So you kind of get a free pass on that. Yeah. If you're 42 and I'm applying for the same job, and it automatically makes somebody go like, well, why is he in this position? What does that mean? It says something just simply that you're that old. It's unfortunate. I'm not saying that's fair or anything like that. I'm just, it's true nature. Though. You know what I mean? So
it's true. I'm notorious for saying I'm just a kid, even at work and stuff like that. You
still can. Yeah,
I'm bringing that expectation, that standard down. So I could just surpass or whatever. And it's exactly that, because it's like, even if I do better than the person next to me, and if that person has all these years of experience, I like to code it with, hey, look, I'm just a kid. Like, don't worry about, you know what I mean? Like, teach me, learn me.
And that's the trick, right? Is that I know I heard this somewhere, but like, the old have the wisdom they want to give away, and the young just don't want to take it. Because when you're younger, and I remember, I was not somebody who took advantage in my 20s. I went up and down. I had some. So when I was in my 20s, so I really started getting into real estate like 1999, and the market really took off around. How old were you then? I was probably like 19 or something like that. Okay. And the market really started taking off in like 2000, 2001, and had this epic run up to like 2006, 2007, which everybody, I think at this point, knows about or experienced.
Fuck yeah,
that
man.
Epic collapse. I was right in the thick of all that, and I like a lot of people lost everything in that.
I want to talk about that.
And I had some big successes in between it, but I was very reckless, very silly, very immature about things. I was one of those people that took a late bloomer, kind of. But it's great when somebody in their 20s can apply themselves and take advantage of that decade. Yeah. Because there's the feeling of like, oh, I've got time. I've got a long time. That's when you think like when you're 20. You don't really worry about, I've got plenty of time, right, to just do whatever I'm doing, or to half-ass it, because it's like, I'm making a little progress, but now I'm going to, just
go have some fun.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun. And I do think that if you can find a way to really apply yourself, and have fun, obviously, explore, grow, and all those things. But if you apply yourself in your 20s, man, you are so much ahead of the game. Yeah. By the time you reach your 30s, and you're going to fail and everything like that, but you're going to be in a much better position,
Yeah. I like from the two things you said, and like those of us, like most of our listeners are probably in our age, if not a little older, but it's like, don't waste your 20. Like, don't use your youth as an excuse, but use it as an advantage, right? Like, exactly. There's ways to use it as an advantage where you have way more room to fuck up. Yep. But do not use it as an excuse. Do not think like, oh, I have all the time in the world, because a lot of people that are doing great in their 30s and 40s is a lot to do with the mistakes they made or the things that they were trying in their 20s and stuff. And
because you're going to blink and you're going to be 32, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, what the hell have I done?
The last 5 years have gone by.
Nothing accomplished. 100%, man. 100%. So. What I want to ask before we get too far from that comment, because I know you said that you came like your most recent stay, like since you've been in Florida, was right when COVID hit.
Yeah, right around that, I believe. Yeah.
Did you like because I know that you're just talking with some of my coworkers and stuff, and that was around the time I was looking to buy a house. There was a big like kind of conversation on whether value's going to go down significantly because there's so many people out of a job. And
maybe like in a bubble.
Oh yeah, that was the initial. The common sense thought was that the market was going to collapse.
But then Florida and COVID.
everywhere. Because I was in Rhode Island when COVID hit, right? And it was on steroids in Florida because everybody up north started making the beeline to Florida, right? And that hasn't stopped. But even in Rhode Island, everywhere, it was the same reaction. It was, and I was acutely into this too, because the plan was, I had already planned we were going to Florida. And I had my house that I had bought on seller financing and had fixed up and was ready to sell and move down to Florida. And then COVID comes, and in March, I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is going to kill everything. This is going to blow up all my plans. I wish I had sold the house.
Traumatized from 2007.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. That stuff leaves a mark on you.
Yeah.
And then wasn't very long because I was tracking the market like crazy. My particular house, everything else. And I was, still working real estate as a sales agent. And I was, people started to realize much later, but if you were working real estate, you started to realize pretty early. Yeah. I remember going to my wife and saying, like, this might not be so bad. I was like, I don't know why, but it seems like, I'm telling you, the market is accelerating. You know what I mean? And at the time, though, maybe some people were out on head on this, but I don't think so. I feel like everybody's natural reaction was like, this is going to tank the market.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But it came right back up, and it was not long at all before you realized it was a massive acceleration. Mm-hmm. Behavioral changes, everybody's moving to the suburbs, all that kind of stuff. Stuff you'd never seen before. So pretty wild. And then Florida is just like
times 10,
the steroid version of it, because Florida represents that freedom, that get away from.
So you're not scared of COVID, like not that you're not scared of COVID, but the freedoms are there. So those that were worried about COVID but still wanted their freedoms were kind of like gravitating.
Yeah, I think initially it wasn't so clear on that front. I mean, now there's definitely a political delineation, right? Initially, in the very beginning, it was more like,
what's going on?
I think people were reevaluating their lives, like in the sense that like I'm in this cold place and I'm just driving to this cubicle and and all of a sudden it's like I'm locked in the house, and it just made people radically realign what they wanted out of life.
Yeah, that's
a lot of people when they think of that. If you're not living in Florida, at least on the East Coast, Florida is kind of like that kind of, I'm going to go to Florida. Everything's going to be different. I'm going to be having a Mai Tai in my hand and all that, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. But you know what? I kind of reevaluate too, like in that sense, because for me, like before COVID came, I was working minimum 12 hours a day and I was just killing myself. And then when COVID came, I actually had a chance to like sit back a little bit, relax for a couple weeks. And I'm like, damn, bro, like I did not realize how much I was killing myself. And now that like I had a chance to kind of like sit back for a second, I'm like, you know what? I need to like learn how to take a little bit of a step back and kind of breathe and kind of enjoy my work, what I'm actually like working for. Cause for me, it was just like work. And I never even thought about like enjoying it. Like, I would take vacations and stuff like that, but it was like vacation time. That was it. And now like I've kind of positioned myself in a better position now where like I'm able to sit down for a couple hours every day and actually kind of like rewind a little bit, relax, versus like before it was like work, sleep. And that's all I was doing for years straight. Yep. And then now I'm able to come home for a few hours and like relax and stuff like that. And it's like so much better. And I feel like I have a better quality of life now, like mentally and everything like that. I'm able to like do things that I want to do, focus on other things and it's different, and I feel like a lot of people realize that like they were just killing themselves and like they were just working and they weren't actually going for anything that they wanted. And everybody had these dreams like, oh, we want to live in Florida. We want to go to Disney. We want to do this and that and that. And I feel like a lot of people, they were like, boom, it hit, and they're just like, you know what? Let's stop fucking saying that we're going to do it, and let's go fucking do it. It's like the time. Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, we just lost our fucking jobs. We can sell our house. Yeah. Like we can, there's jobs over there.
But really got really bad for like those in like New York where it was like, fuck, like you couldn't even go outside. No. You couldn't even go into the damn grocery store without a card. It's like, damn it, you see Florida and then all these videos from Florida and everyone's at the beach and everyone's drinking, everyone's happy.
But even initially, like you were saying, like I think, I never really thought about that. And it's like, yeah, we went through COVID down here or whatever, right? But like, we were able to go outside and go for a jog or like go out, you know what I mean? Like walk your dog.
Totally different vibe down here. And I'm talking very close in the very beginning, before it became like the Nazi governors up there shutting everything down and, mask everything and all that. And, I mean, not to get too political, but clearly DeSantis is on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah. I also think the culture down here, regardless of the governor, is more on that end of the spectrum. Right? Everybody's just kind of like, you do your thing, I'll do mine. Whereas the Northeast is definitely more of a liberal-minded place, so they're more inclined to follow the leader kind of thing, the political leaders. But yeah, it became so stark, and it still is. I mean, we were just having our ad council meeting talking about the market, and we focused on Orlando market after the talking about the global market, but and not just Orlando, but just Central Florida, and the numbers are crazy. I mean, they're just Florida. most population increase in the country.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, by far.
And even before COVID, more people moving to Florida before COVID.
It was already happening.
Exactly. You know? And I think it just amplified it even more so. And I would I seen like a time lapse, of like people moving to Florida and like where they're coming from. And like each dot represented like, I think it was like 5,000 people or something like that. And it was crazy to see like in the last 12 months, how many people are flying. And it's from the Northeast is insane. We have some from the West Coast, but it's not nearly. The Northeast is like crazy.
Besides COVID, before COVID, we still had ridiculous taxes.
Yeah.
There's no income tax here.
Right.
You know
no state income tax. Yep.
And I'm not from New York, but New York's taxes are insane.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other states like Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts are also crazy.
And our sales tax is low too. And our Orange County, which is Orlando area, it's like 6.5. I think Osceola County is what, 7.5 here, right? Yeah. So like, and I think in what more like New York area, so that's like 10-12% on just sales tax. That on top of that, you got to pay what, like 10%, I think, or 7% for state income tax.
All sorts of fees, documentation, regulation.
Your car registration.
Over police. That was one thing I noticed when I came down south in general. Right, whenever I spent time down south, is that you guys basically have county police. Right. In Rhode Island, this tiny state where in 45 minutes you could be anywhere in the state, right? At the line anywhere. We've got police officers for each town. So like I lived on Aquidneck Island, this little island with 3 little towns, right? The total population has got to be something like 30,000 people. Yeah. We have 3 police stations. There's 3 towns. Each one has their own police station.
Oh, wow.
They're basically just, doing nothing. And you could tell when you drive anywhere in New England, there's cops everywhere. All they're doing is just pulling over people.
You barely see cops over here. That's because everybody's working events and they're so short staffed too.
And it's serious. You use your resources properly, right? So there's a level of crime and you put the appropriate amount of resources to deal with it and whatever public safety, whatever it is. Street lights. There's a lot of things I noticed down here where there's just not excess. It's all planned really well. And part of that is the infrastructure is much older up north than down here where they've expanded in more modern times. But there's just a lot of waste. And when you're paying all these high taxes and seeing it just go nowhere, like our roads suck. Rhode Island consistently ranked the worst roads in the country. I'm not even joking. Someone puts out a freaking list for that.
And it's tough when you're like in a colder climate because, they salt the roads and the freezes, they destroy the roads.
It takes a lot.
So it's definitely a lot to maintain. But nonetheless, if you guys are paying that much in taxes and state taxes.
Where the heck does it go? It doesn't go to the roads. I know that. And down here, it's not so much. And you're right. You have a lot of upkeep because of the salt and all that stuff. But you just see that everywhere. Just even like the little, on highways, there's the little public spaces. You guys mow the lawn. I mean, in Rhode Island, I'm not kidding you. They just let it grow. It's like all natural, but it's just weeds.
All natural.
Where's the money going to?
And it's,
y'all need some goats.
Huge amount of money goes to the government, So I think all of that was the COVID was kind of the cherry on top of the get out of here Sunday, and everybody just wanted to get out,
Yeah, and I have that conversation. Not to get too off topic, but I have that. My fiance, she graduated for social work, right? So she kind of understands like the lackingness that maybe Florida and probably a lot of southern states have with that those social work programs. and stuff, where like compared to New York, it's like pristine, it's outstanding, and it's like it's again. If I was somebody making decisions, I mean, that's why I like America, period. Because you could go to different
options,
states, you have options or whatever. But like you said, getting less resources and then just using them appropriately and stuff, like that's a big thing. I don't know. I like how Florida does it.
I do. I myself do. I like the South in general. I like Florida. I like how they do it. I'm much happier in that sense. But honestly, none of that would have made me come here. It's also the fact that I was looking for a business. I don't know if you ever guys go on like the website Biz Buy Sell or whatever, if you're just looking for businesses, like if you go look anywhere, Florida in total, just like narrow it down to just Orlando or
it's a lot.
It's a ton, right?
Many businesses.
Go look at Rhode Island for homework tonight, the entire state, and see how many businesses for sale and what they want for some crappy businesses. I mean, they want a fortune for like $400,000 for a Subway, like Subway, the sandwich place that nobody goes to anymore. So it was opportunity. There's just more. All these things bring people there, opportunity, business, people, capital, and that leads to business opportunities too. And that was at the end of the day. I'm very happy because we're doing a lot better here than I would have been if I had stayed back in Rhode Island.
Yeah. You got it. You came in like the perfect time here, man. You got in like perfect time. Well, it could have been better.
And it's 3 things. Like I think in the early stages when we didn't know what was what, it was like just quality of living, just walking outside my door. What do I want to see? What do I want to feel like? And then as the years went on, the politics kind of even more maybe incentivize people to come down here.
Yep.
And then another thing is because of COVID, there's a lot of remote work, right?
Yeah.
Even, I bet you guys are seeing it with real estate. Like when I bought a house, I was being told like this is way different than like what we're used to doing because it's a lot of DocuSign, it's a lot of this and that.
Yeah.
Where I would have had to actually come in person.
Oh yeah, the closing was all done remotely and all that.
And they're actually running on a new process that Florida just started, and like a lot of big companies are getting in on it. It's an in-person. It's called IPEN, in-person electronic notarization. So it's basically a remote online notarization, but they're doing it in person with like an iPad device now. Yeah. And it's just starting to roll out. It's just starting to launch. And like, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with AmRock, but that's Rocket Mortgage, one of Rocket Mortgage's main title companies. Yeah. And they're rolling that out because they went all RON, like the last few months, they went all RON. And which is like the remote online notarization. So basically it's like you do the whole closing on your computer with the webcam.
Yeah.
And I still do a lot of work. I have my RON, but I don't advertise it because they don't pay enough for my opinion for it yet. But, like they still have a lot. The thing is though, there's like a downside. I still do paper closings for AmRock every single week. Yeah. You know why? Because a lot of people don't have the computers for it, older people, or it's like that. Like like whenever they do like the software check, it's not quick enough, or they mess up, or whatever it is. And I'm doing every single week. I'm still doing paper closings for them, but the iPad is gonna be pretty cool because I'm curious to see how that's gonna be because that's gonna be in person. Basically, an iPad. I don't know if they're gonna do like a pen you sign or how they're gonna do it, but. It's definitely that the whole market is changing with the whole thing.
And there's that, and I just wanted to say that to say like I've never met more people that are living in Texas or Florida, but they work in New York or some of these other states, and because of COVID and because of all these new opportunities, and businesses are investing more in these I want to say like monitoring systems. Like, here's a better way for you to do your job, and we can make sure you're doing your job from home. You know, and it's just allowing so much more people to say, okay, now I can live somewhere I don't work. You know, and then absolutely. how I'm sure there's a percentage of people that are coming down to Florida that are like,
I see it. I see it
if
myself.
you can remote work, where would you rather be in February?
Yeah.
The Catskills are down in Florida. Yeah. So
no, I see. Sure. I've been seeing it too because like every time I meet people and stuff like that, I always like to like know what they do and stuff like that. It's good to network too. It's a good way for me to network with people, and I've noticed a lot of people are coming over here and they're like, oh, I work in tech. I see a lot of people that work from home in tech. And that's like one of the biggest ones, but everybody seems to be working from home. And it's like, oh, what do you guys do? I was like, oh, well, we started working from home. So now we have to get a 5-bedroom house, a 4-bedroom house because our 3-bedroom, and now we each need our own office to be able to work and stuff like that. And like, I'm seeing it even more. And people in Florida, not even just other states too, but like in Florida, everybody's expanding their houses. They're getting bigger houses because now they're working from home. And then everybody's moving over to Florida, and a lot of them are working remotely. And it's definitely changing the industry 100%.
Oh, it's changing what they're building in the houses and what people need. Exactly. That's what you were saying is that people gotta really, there's always been like, oh, a home office, but now it's become almost like you gotta have a home office in the floor plan, a setup for people to expand because people want that in the back of their minds.
Yep.
And software, my neighbors are like that. They're 2 people from, I want to say California. And I'm generalizing here, but a lot of people in tech and software are introverted, and so they especially, if they can stay home, they're going to take it. You know?
Definitely.
My department is like part of the IT or whatever, and I'm starting to see because our company doesn't like remote. They want people to come in.
Oh yeah, the big businesses don't. They're trying to get people back.
But I feel like there's so many other businesses that are offering that remote that you're going to start seeing, and we're already seeing it. Either we're losing people or we're paying a premium to keep them, right? Because they're like, look, you're giving me the same money, but
I could do this in my pajamas at home, eating a bagel
Goldman
sandwich.
Sachs, the CEO of Goldman Sachs just ordered everybody back, and like half the people came back, and then they put in their resignations or went on to something else. You know,
and there's so much opportunity.
If Goldman Sachs can't get you to do it, and there's a problem. And so that's a permanent change, I think. You know, in society.
For sure.
So
I even hear people like groups of friends doing similar work together, and then they all do remote, and then they just kind of like rent out office spaces to like just work with each other and stuff like that, which is super dope.
Downtime.
Let's go to Mexico or let's go to Bali or something, and let's do a week of work out
pretty
there.
Wild. I mean, if I was younger on my own, especially, I would have been all about
man.
that.
Yeah.
Before we get into any other things, because damn, we already got 50 minutes. Thank you for coming, bro. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it.
But I do want to talk about, because I moved to Florida. I was a kid, obviously, but when I moved to Florida, I think we bought a house 2006. and it was in Poinciana and stuff like that. And my family was one of the families that definitely suffered, where like everybody kind of goes.
I just know by the date 2006 that you definitely suffered for a little while.
Yeah, man. And some people, like, the good things of buying a house is like you're locked in. You know what I mean? So as long as your job is good,
you got trapped at that point, and that was one of the big problems at that point.
Yeah, man. My parents ended up losing the house and this and that. And
my step pops lost his house too.
So what was your experience through that? So like, what were you doing during that time, and what? How did
we're
that
gonna need another
affect you?
podcast to get
Let's
through
do
all
it,
this.
man. Let's do it.
The short of it is, I was very arrogant and cocky, and to that point, my whatever real estate investing I had done, which was on a smaller scale, I wasn't doing flips constantly, had worked out, largely, and I got a property in 2006 that. Without getting too complicated, it was a very small lot, but the town where I'm from, the lots are all very tiny.
Yeah.
And it was a very high value area. And I knew, even though it was only about a 17,000 square foot lot, that you could put 5 more condos there. Like if you turn into condos, you could put about 6 condos, including the little house that was there.
Yeah.
And the realtor, for whatever reason, didn't realize it. So they put the house on the market at market value for a little house. I realized that there was much more value there. So much so, and I'm not kidding, I was so young, and I went to the town officials. They all agreed with me. I went to a lawyer who I had worked with in the past. He was an older guy. He brought in an expert. They all scrutinized it, and the guy literally said, I will write you a check for $50,000 if you just walk away from this. Like, congratulations, you did well here, kid. This is too big of a scale for you, though, now to get the money to do all this and all this. And I was literally like, no way, I'm going to be a millionaire. See you later. And so I had an offer of $50,000 to just walk away from it.
Yeah.
I bought it. The town of Newport, which is what we're talking about here, put in a ban on anybody connecting to the sewer systems. And it went on for like a year and a half because they had some sewer, without getting into it, some sewer issues, right?
And that was
water
vital
runoff
for you.
into the water system.
Yeah.
So they shut down all that stuff. So I got stuck waiting and waiting and waiting. And all of a sudden, the market changed on a dime, at that point. And I was stuck in this position where I had a high interest rate loan that I had gotten no doc, right?
Because
the
back
real no
then,
doc back then where you got...
It's probably ARM, right? Back then?
Yeah, I was over leveraged everywhere. Eventually, I couldn't hold on to the thing. I couldn't sell it because the values had gone down, even with the potential in it. And I ended up losing it. My credit got sunk down to zero. I lost everything. It was like a, post-traumatic stress disorder kind of event, where you just like, wow. And I had a family at that time, not as big a family as I got now, but you're like, how am I going to live, kind of thing. And for a few years, I gave up on real estate entirely because I was like, that's not my lot in life, and it took me a while to sort of get back into the mode that, like, this is what I do, this is what I do well, and get back into it. It took me a while. But what I did luck myself into just by talking to people, right, what we were talking about, I had gotten to a super low in life where I was just trying to get any job to, like, pay the bills.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law had a catering truck business. do they do catering trucks here?
No.
All right, it's just basically like a food truck.
Yeah.
But you go down to like construction sites and whatever, and you do a little route.
Yeah.
So I was in Providence. I had gotten to that low where I was working. I was my first day on the job working the back of his truck serving people hot dogs out of this catering truck. And at like the middle of the day, I get a phone call, and it's this guy from Tampa, of all places, for this company, big company that was hired by the banks to all these foreclosures all over the place. They needed somebody with real estate experience to sort of cover an area. Like in this case, they wanted Rhode Island up to Boston, just inspect all these vacant properties, fix them up, whatever. And the guy basically called me. I guess I had talked to somebody who talked to somebody like months ago, and they put me on a list and they called me.
Talk to somebody.
He asked me about that. I quit right there. I was like, Mike, my mom, like, I love you, guy, but this is my last day.
Sell your own fucking hot dog.
And I lucked out. I had to get, he was like, you have insurance and a crew and everything for that, right? And I was like, absolutely. I had none of it. And I went out and instantly got all that stuff. And right away I was doing it. And within so many months, I had 5 people working for me because I had so much work I couldn't keep up with, just inspecting foreclosed properties. Literally every month you got to go there, hand out there was some government form they wanted you to hand out all the time saying you have a way to get out of this.
Yeah.
You talk to the owner, you take some pictures of the house, you make sure they're not burning the place down. A lot of them are vacant, you got to keep going in. And they were paying us a fortune for like years. It went on for years. And when I moved down to Florida, I sold that business as it was dying out. And as the market got better, that business went down. But the time where the market sucked, it was amazing. It was like it was an unending amount of work just inspecting foreclosed houses.
That's two things like off of what you said. A, because I know you mentioned like your confidence kind of screwed you with the crash.
Yeah.
But B, like it also helped you get back into your rhythm, because I think it does take a little bit of a delusional confidence to be great in anything, right? Like it takes a little bit of a delusional confidence to be great in anything, and where it obviously shit happens and that confidence screwed you over in 2007 to whatever that time. Yeah. But then, hey, do you have the insurance? Do you have the team? Do you have everything you need? Like, absolutely, I have all that. And it's like, because without a thought, I'm gonna go get everything I need, and you did, but.
It's that, and for me, not most people are not this way, but for me, the idea of working some job for somebody and having the same thing every day, over and over, and being locked into this thing where I have to maybe get 2 weeks vacation, that's like a jail sentence to me. Yeah, I have tried right after that thing. I was like, I gotta go finish my degree. I just gotta get a regular job, and I've tried it, and I can do it, but. First of all, I'm not the greatest at it. I work better on my own kind of vibe, run my own thing, but I can do it. But it's like a jail sentence to me. Yeah. It's so painful for me that, like, on top of being, like you said, a little bit crazy, a little bit of a risk taker, my personality just hates working for somebody. Yeah. So I'm driven to find a way not to do it, And but a lot of it, it's just luck. But also, you make your own luck. So, like I said, you just keep talking to people. Go put yourself into situations and things you have no. I have no idea why they ended up calling me that day, but it was. I had to talk to somebody for that person to talk to somebody to eventually get back to me.
And that was my other question, which you pretty much answered. But I feel like, because when we lost our house or whatever, the person that bought it, like I think my parents bought the home for $250, and when we had to leave and they foreclosed it or whatever, the next person bought it for like maybe $160, $170.
Oh, it was the time to be alive if you bought real estate, like 2011.
There must have been so many like people, like those lucky motherfuckers that got into real estate at that time, But you think there was a big surge in real estate, obviously after the market crash, maybe, or in that specific time?
Yeah, so that killed the market, and it was so traumatic, the most traumatic real estate event of all our lives, probably ever, hopefully ever.
Hopefully ever.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. But so investors, right, like real seasoned investors, they got out before 2006, right? Not because they were geniuses as much as they could afford to be cautious. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'll give you an example where that worked against them after this, but in this case, it worked for them. I remember talking to a lot of real, wealthy guys, and in 2004, 2003, they're like, "Oh, this market's getting way overheated. I'm out." Yeah. Those are the ones that are like, putting on their dinner napkins once it goes down. Yeah. Because now it's time to feast. Now I'm going to go buy this stuff real cheap. Yeah. That's the advantage they have, because they don't need to find a way to make dramatic results in 1 year. They've already done that, and they can sort of sit and wait for the market to always be at the bottom and buy up. Just like in the stocks, when the stock market crashed, same time, right? Warren Buffett, he was going right in buying when it dipped down, right? And he looked like a genius, but he's basically just playing simple, old time-tested business concepts, right? And he could afford to do it, right? But when you're hustling, you got to try to make it happen when it's happening. However, I recall many times with some really wealthy investors, I was trying to get in some deals in Rhode Island before I came down here, and them saying the same thing again. Oh, the market's just been going up for years now. It's going to go down, about to go down. And when you looked at the data, I didn't think it said that. I was very confident. No, we're not going down. This is not like 2005 and 2006. Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why we don't have enough time to get into it, but they missed out on that because it's been going up ever since, right? And so they lost out, but they can afford to, right? I mean, they love to swoop in when it tanks. Yeah. And that's what happened there. Is a lot of investors came in first, and then slowly when people started to see. So there's that feeling of like dread, right? When it drops down that much, everybody for a few years just doesn't want to do anything because they're always afraid it's going to drop down again, right? Yeah. But once people got confident again, and certainly investors are buying up really cheap, then it slowly builds up that confidence, and it's just a snowball effect going the other way, right? It starts building up confidence, and all of a sudden we're at where we're now, where it's just super frothy. And
do you think we're in it? Because we've had these conversations before. Do you think we're in some type of a bubble, or do you think just the rate of increase will start to slow down?
Not right now. Right. I know that seems crazy. I know people are like, I'm waiting for it to go down. No, because
a lot of people.
It's a supply and demand thing. It's a supply and demand thing. So I lived through the crash before, right? And that was speculator driven. So the supply of houses, pretty much nationally, I mean, it varied in different areas, but pretty much nationally, the supply of available houses for sale was much greater than it is right now. Right now, we only have, in Florida, we have 1 month supply, which means basically if it stopped in 1 month, we'd be out of houses. Okay. Yeah. We were nowhere near that at the height of 2005, 2006, 2007. What was driving that mainly was you could get a loan so easy. Yeah. Like there's no doc state income. Yeah. If your credit score was like a 680, you didn't have to show them. You could just say, I make $400,000 a year, and they take your word for it. Yeah. And they just give you the house. Yeah. And interest rates were higher then than they are now. Yeah. Way so people are worried about interest rates going up. It's like, they'll just get back to where they were before. Yeah. But there was tons of speculator-driven stuff. It wasn't organic. It wasn't like, hey, there's just a bunch of families and new home buyers and whatever trying to buy a house, and they can't. Yeah. That's what's going on right now. So, yes, interest rates are going to go up. Yes, property values have skyrocketed, right? But the bottom line is that if you want to buy a house, right, you've got a job, whatever it is, your situation, if you want to buy a house right now, you're competing with 10 other people, and that's not going to really change. Yeah,
it's more of a supply and demand right now that's driving it.
That's it.
Than before.
So rates are going to go up. It's going to get more expensive. Yeah. But if you wait till next year to buy a house, if I had to guess, I mean, if I could predict everything, I'd be a billionaire, right? But
yeah, exactly.
I'll say this. I've talked to many experts. We just had an ad council meeting discussing this. Even people bigger than us, like real big shots and whatever. There's sort of a consensus that, like, I know it's expensive, but if you can buy a house and you want to buy a house, do it now, because next year it's just gonna be higher. Yeah. You're gonna regret it. Yeah. And will that continue like 2 or 3 years from now? At some point, it's gonna reach a peak, and supply will catch up with demand. They're building more houses and whatnot, but that was the other thing that surprised me.
And also, it hasn't dropped much, and it's kind of going like it's waving up and down. The lumber prices have almost quadrupled.
That's the other thing, right? Inflation, and that's so the cost of everything is going up, and it's gonna help your home value. I mean, And the other thing that shocked me too is that as much building as I see around here, like they're building houses everywhere here. I found this out the other day too. Apparently at the height of 2005, they're still not building as many houses at the rate they were in 2005 now. So we have not caught up. And they just can't build them fast enough. Like windows, it's impossible to find windows.
Yeah, windows right now are like 6 months supply.
I was just saying that because you can't, like, you go to Lake Nona, you go to St. Cloud, you go to Claremont, you go to a lot of these places, Apopka or Ocoee and stuff like that, and they're building.
Especially like,
but they're sold before they're built almost right now.
Well, you look at the numbers coming in. Again, number one in the country in this area. One of the highest increases of people coming in, net inflow is here. Yeah. And so as much as they're doing all that stuff, there's so many people who want to buy a house.
Now, so since we're on the supply and demand side and we see how many people are moving to Florida, do you think like places in the Northeast are going to start seeing issues with like kind of like tanking and stuff like that, because eventually, like you said, supply and demand is going to catch up eventually, but maybe not so much so in Florida, but maybe if people are fleeing from like the Northeast and like in the numbers that they are and they continue to do so, do you think it's going to be on the flip side for them that they might actually start seeing a little bit of a crash in there?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So I have not been, dissecting the Northeast like I have down here now. I will say that the market's not as hot up there. It is hot.
Right.
But not like down here.
Yeah.
I know that from just talking to several guys who are in real estate. They're selling houses all the time. I had an interesting conversation with one of the bigger guys in our group. He's originally from LA and he moved out here, and he's basically like, these prices don't bother him at all, because it's like in LA years ago, it was like $800,000 for a house. It's like, this is cheap, he thinks. But point he was trying to make is that he keeps watching California, because the West Coast tends to be the outlier first. Mm-hmm. And what happens there then trickles down to the hot markets back on the eastern side. So, and he's keeping an eye on California with the same trends we're at. They're going to reach their peak first before we do sort of here, is kind of the idea.
That's what I was trying to say too. Really it's cool. I want, how many buyers do you get out of state? Do you get a lot of buyers from out of Florida? Because like if you're in Minnesota and the same house costs $600,000-$700,000, and you're looking in Florida and it's $300,000-$400,000, you're like, whatever it appraises for, I'll pay more.
You know that happens. That absolutely happens.
Yeah,
you get people marketing all the time. If you're in the Northeast, you go on Craigslist or something like that. There's people always marketing a house in sunny Florida and there's beautiful pictures, and they're probably asking way over what market value is, but it looks so cheap to you up there, and they can get people like that. Absolutely.
And that's why everybody's seeing like, and that's like another thing too hard to compete with, especially for FHA, is that people are coming from the Northeast and coming from the West Coast, and the property values are so high, and they're selling their properties, and just based off of inflation, that if they bought the property 5 years ago, the profit that they're making off those properties, they can come here and put $50,000 over asking off just a profit and purchase the property. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. And like you see a lot of people talk about California cash buyers because they're coming over here giving 50 to 100,000 over appraisal, and majority of people that live here aren't able to compete with that, because especially if you're doing FHA, there's no way you're going to compete with that. You know what I mean? So it's just really, really tough in that sense.
I mean, if I had a wish list of what if they could regulate, or if they could find ways to assist with FHA becoming more competitive, I think that would be huge for people who are struggling to get a house deal. Yeah. Because FHA helps you, but like we said in the beginning of this thing, it hurts you kind of in a competitive thing. You know, if your bids versus somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, so somebody if they can figure out ways to guarantee some things or to cover, you know, these appraisal issues, the regulations maybe close faster. If they found ways to speed that stuff up without altering the risk, you know, you can't make it. I mean, the fastest way is to do no doc, like we said, right? Which is like, nobody cares. You got it. You can't do that. But if they could find some ways to do that and make it more competitive, that would be good, because a lot of people who are struggling to find a house, living there their whole lives, renting, and the rents are going crazy too, right? So it's like you're kind of trapped. So it would be good to figure out a way to help those people out.
And I heard that that they're raising the interest rates to try to, they're hoping it's going to slow down purchasing. And so they think it's going to help the FHA because they're going to increase rates to try to help FHA be able to do that. That's like their way of trying to assist. But I don't think that it's going to make a difference if they bump it up 1%. I don't think it's going to slow down anything. I think everybody right now is still like, okay, let's bump that 1%. That means that we got to buy faster now because we don't want it to. Now the rates are increasing. Now we have to go. I think it's going to create like more of a surge almost. Is what I'm thinking.
Factor. Yeah.
In the short term, it will.
That's what I'm thinking. But long term, you think it will help out with FHA in that sense?
Well, it helps in one sense in that, like you said, traditionally, not FHA necessarily, but like. I don't know if they have it in Florida, but in Rhode Island, they used to have like a state program, and I forget the name of it.
Like USDA, you talking about? Oh, no.
Similar. That's another federal one, but the state had its own program, and they had the interest rate really, really low. Like competitively low, like 1% lower than the average rate. And that is an advantage, right? Yeah. You can afford more house, but it doesn't necessarily help you get the deal, right? So it helps in a different environment. When the market's slow, that helps up, because when you can't sell a house, right? When the market's the other way around,
sorry about that. Man. No, that was me.
We out of time?
No. That was me. I pressed it. It was my fault.
In other words, if you're a seller in a bad market, you want someone getting the low interest rate to help you. You'll wait for it to come through, because maybe they can't buy that house unless they get that, and you're willing to wait because there's no more competition. But right now, it's kind of a kiss of death.
I got lucky because I know I did. That was my strategy. Was just I'll put an offer in right now, and there was 5 other buyers, but they must have also been FHA buyers. You know, like either that or my realtor, like you said, know somebody and it might help you. You know, like maybe that just helped them close the deal a little quicker.
My best advice would be try to just eliminate showings and go way over. If you want this place and you're really like, I need to get a house, I've been looking at this neighborhood, I've lost like 5 straight times. Go way over. Go way over the asking price, while also taking into consideration the appraisal, right? And like, you can't go so far over that you'll never get it. But if you can, just go higher, way higher, and say, hey, if you'll take this tonight and stop it, I'll give you this. Whatever number that makes sense. $10,000, $15,000 over. Maybe more, but probably not. Do it. And you have a better shot if you throw out a bunch of offers like that and you just eliminate the showings and the seller. I'm on that end. If I can get something and the offer looks good enough and they're going that much over the asking price, I'm willing to roll the dice with the FHA.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. And it was a little nerve-wracking because it's like, shit, if it appraises there, then you're locked in there. You know what I mean? But happily it didn't, or whatever. But yeah, man, that's good advice. That's real. That's what I had to do in order to be competitive. And that was a year ago. I can't imagine what it looks like right now.
It's the same way now.
Crazy right
Even
now.
Lithia, I don't know if you're in the Lithia area. I was showing my buyer's houses over there for like a 2 weeks straight. We'll go in that same day, gone the next day. Every single freaking house. And that was every single one.
Yeah.
So it was like, and everything was conventional. They're taking conventional or cash. You do FHA, everything else, they're not looking your way.
I think if they rolled out like a payment assisted program, in a sense of like offering maybe like 10% extra, 15% extra over what the property's appraises at like a lower rate, so kind of like almost like a secondary like assistant loan. So like let's say like the government puts up you know, an extra 10 to 15% of the property value they're willing to compromise, and they can offer it like that at like a 1% or something like that over like the next 10 years or next 5 years. And you can pay a little bit extra for the next 5 years, but you can get that assistant for the down payment to be able to match the loan to value ratio and be able to help with FHA. I think that'd be one way to kind of curveball around the FHA issues that the people are currently having. But I know that's a big thing to try to roll out immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, it could. I guess you just got to do the math on, you know, what they're backing up to get you that extra money.
Yeah.
But it could. Yeah. What you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's actually a pretty good idea.
But that's something I was thinking about, maybe trying to like help alleviate with everything. But I don't know. That would be like a really hard thing to try to roll out in like a matter of time. And with everything going on, I feel like by the time they would even get that program locked in and system, yeah, then maybe the FHA problem would be gone. But it's definitely created a problem that at least I don't know of that. I don't think that we've ever seen with FHA having so much a hard time buying properties and everything. I don't think, in my knowledge, that's never happened before. Do you know of anything like that?
I mean, it was probably similar for me anyways, at the height of, 2005-ish or whatever.
2005.
Whenever it gets to be such a hot market and you're competing with people and bidding, you're going to lose out when you got stuff that just drags it down. Like, you know.
And so in 2005, I was a kid, so
yeah.
I that was a blur, but I know that when like I was saying, like my step pops, he had
nothing like this. I mean, even at the height of that, I just don't remember it being, because there was much more supply back then.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just there's nothing going for sale, and people are backed up in line to buy places. So I've never, it's never been as crazy as it is right now in terms of competition.
And right now, like another thing that's really killing, like you were saying, like a couple weeks ago, we had a big convention here called the IBS, which is like
irritable bowel syndrome.
That's funny though. But no, it was like international builders seminar, something like that. But basically it was like a big meeting of all like the builders in the whole United States.
Yep.
And they got together and they were telling me that like a lot of these people, man, they're waiting like 6 to 9 months on just windows right now. And I guess like there's like, from a couple people have told me different things, but I guess like the chemical coating that helps with the UV for the windows, like they just can't get the chemical for whatever reason it is, but they're waiting 6 to 9 months on just the windows alone. And that's not including everything else. And then lumber prices, even though they've kind of leveled out recently, you're still paying like 4 times more what you were paying like 3 years ago on lumber prices. It's ridiculous. If you walk through Home Depot or you walk through like lumber yards, the prices are almost as painful, man, looking at them. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, you buy a couple pieces of 2x4s pine, in good shape, so that you're paying $100 easily. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So I can't imagine what the inflation is on a property built. You know what I mean? So these properties, even on inflation, if you try to match what the market is, I know that these building companies are eating money. They're eating profits 100%, because even if you're selling a property for $200,000 and now you're selling for $220,000, I know that you're putting more than $20,000 in extra material, because your material costs are probably almost, if maybe at least minimally doubling, if not almost quadrupling on labor, on material costs,
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I was talking to a rep for DR Horton the other day, and they had to they're getting so bogged down because of windows that they figured out some way to coat. I can't remember exactly how they explained it, but they basically have some coating they put over the window spots after they block frame the home.
Yeah.
To sort of hold it in place so they can continue with the rest of construction until they get those windows in late, otherwise being stopped in the process. And exactly the other thing is that you're right. They're going to figure out ways to either, because for a big builder like that, the price going up even a few pennies is gigantic, because there's just so much scale to it. But they're figuring out tricks and ways to sort of
they changed their contract. I've seen
to make it work.
I've seen the contracts, like they're changing the underwriting for the contracts for things now, and now they're I forgot what the exact name of it is, but like at closings you're going to see, like I've seen like Alta's like a $20,000 surge bump, and I'm like, oh, like I'm not sure what this fee. I go through the Alta line by line. I'm like, well, I'm not sure what this is. They're like, oh, that's because we had an inflation of material costs from when they originally bidded it, and now we're closing, and we had to pay extra $20,000 on materials, and it's going on Alta, and they're passing it on to the consumer, and it's kind of like now they're changing up their contracts to pretty much add that in. They're like, hey, if material cost skyrockets during this time period, or we have to pay extra, something like that, you can see an increase on price and stuff like that. And I've seen those on Altas already and stuff like that. So it's happening for sure.
The timeline is so long now. So like if you go down to some new construction site today, any house that's like being finished up, maybe you walk inside, they're still finishing the kitchen, but it's pretty much there. The house is already sold.
Oh yeah.
You're looking at something where like they just put a pad down maybe, and you're going to bid with 8 other people, right? And even then, if you win that bid, you're looking at like 8 months.
Yeah.
6 to 8 months before they build that thing. So from the builder's perspective, it's like it keeps going up every month.
Yeah.
So that's why they're adding those things on, because it's like they're looking at it like, hey, if we sell it to them at whatever, $550, but like when we complete it, it's worth like $590. You know what I mean? We've got to recoup some of that. You know?
For
that's
sure.
what they're doing. But
And two questions before we finish
up
this podcast. Yeah, because I want to. These are 2 questions I want to get to. First question. You mentioned advertising, right? So for someone that wants to do what you do, and then maybe at a scale that you do it, what do you put into your advertising, and how do you advertise?
Well, we put in a lot of money into advertising.
Really?
So I wouldn't say if you're just starting out to do this. I mean, put like thousands of dollars every month into advertising.
Wow.
But
for that
I guess
scale,
if I was somebody, right, and I had nothing, right, so I would say do the networking thing. I would literally, if I would just plop down in this town, I would start, using every social media profile I can, go on the internet, go to clubs, whatever, just find the people who are doing what you want to do. If it's flipping houses, they're out there, right? And just work for free. Just get in it or have incentives. Like a lot of them were like, they have these bull crap ads where it's like, we will train you to buy houses, but it's really just like internships, and they want you to spend a bunch of money, right? So don't do that necessarily. I wouldn't spend a bunch of money, but there's going to be ones out there that are going to give you a legit opportunity and they'll pay you squat. But look at it as the investment. There's your investment. There's your marketing or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Figure out how to do it. Do it for like 6 months. 3 months maybe.
Yeah.
And then you've got to have some way to invest some money into marketing. No matter what, you're not going to be able to just knock on doors or drive around. I mean, you'll find stuff doing that. But you've got to have some sort of marketing plan. And that's why you got to work for somebody else to see what they do. So you know how to attack it and you go out there and do it. You send your own little postcards or whatever it is and target the zip codes or whatever you want to do. Your little market area you want to focus on, whatever it is, go figure out, work for somebody who's doing it and then do it yourself. But you're going to have to invest. There's no, the people who say you can do everything for like just $500, no, I mean, that's not happening.
Do it right.
You got to take risks. You've got, and honestly, you'll never make it doing this stuff anyways, unless you are able to take some risk. But do you have to spend like, a fortune on it? No, you don't. You can start small. You could just have a target of like, hey, I'll just keep my job, but I have a goal of flipping 2 houses this year and, maybe making 30, 40, 50,000 on each one, You can do it. It just depends on how much, time and effort and risk you want to take.
And the way you market now, is there like, how do you market now? What is some of the avenues you take right now to...
I mean, mainly we send out just a lot of marketing directly to houses.
Oh, really?
It's like mail-aways, mail-outs or something like that.
Mail-outs and stuff like that. Yeah.
But again, being part of the franchise, there's a huge social media presence. They have sort of inroads with Google and whatnot to sort of maximize all that stuff. I don't understand any of that stuff, but they do
SEOs and stuff.
Yeah, I know we have that presence. There was even billboards for a little while, but we've gone away from that. Depending on how much money you're spending, you could even go into TV and stuff like that. But that's, again, for a franchise, for a group of people pooling their money together. On your own, if you strictly speaking, in most things in real estate, strictly speaking, you're just getting leads. So if I'm an agent, how do I get the leads, right? That's the same thing I'd say to an agent. It's like, go work for an agent that's killing it here. Find your way in and be useful. Figure out what they do and just copy it. They don't need to really, they're just getting leads somehow. A lot of agents, I don't know. It seems like a lot of them pay for Zillow and stuff like that to get, to give them opportunities at things. Maybe that's all you can do, but there's going to be other avenues.
Yeah.
You're not like, if you're a realtor, I know there's like, go to your friends and your family and always talk real estate. Yeah, obviously you do that. Definitely you do that. But you're not going to make a fortune just
off your family.
Going off family and friends. You know what I'm saying? You've just got to constantly talk real estate everywhere and have an angle. If you are, I don't know, if you're really extroverted, go socialize. You just got to have a mission. And you'll figure it out. But if you want to skip to the front of the line, go to somebody who's already figured it out and just copy it.
Why
just
not?
Figure out the one who's like you, who's kind of like you, whatever their angle is, and just copy it.
Yeah.
You know what I love though? I just want to point this out is that we've had multiple people on here that have said, find different industries. Everybody in different industries that said, find somebody that's in the industry you are and is killing it, and copy what they do. We've heard that probably like 4 or 5 times from people.
Yeah.
Pretty much almost like a lot of people that come on here that are in different industries too. They always say, find somebody who's doing it right and doing it how you want to do it and copy what they do. Copy the blueprint. You know what I mean? And that, we've heard that multiple times.
And
like,
do it your way if you need to or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but
with your personality,
Yeah.
you know who you are, you know, so everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, you know, and just apply it to that.
Yeah.
And if you treat it kind of almost like a video game, like I've been plopped here, how do I get the EXP or whatever it is, but like treat it like a video game. Like how do I win? You know what I mean? Find the people who are doing it, find what they do, whatever it is, and just duplicate it.
You're willing.
It sounds simple, but it's not that simple. But it's simple in this sense. If you dedicate yourself to that mindset, you will succeed in it. Yeah. I have no doubt.
It's mind-boggling when people aren't open to stuff like that. Like that's why there is mentorship programs and stuff. They're trying to get you got to go through all these failures to learn things, or you could go learn from somebody that went through all these failures and can help you kind of skirt around those. Yeah. You know,
I mean, you got to be wary of like the sharks. Like in real estate, there definitely is like, you know, my workshop, come here now, and you will, you know, I'll have you buying houses next week. And, all right, take it with a grain of salt. You know, and they'll want you to sell your mother to like join that thing. You know, don't do that. But have I gone to those? I've gone to them. I've gone to them and I don't pay them for anything, but I've gone to them just to get an idea. Like when I came down to Florida the first time, I wanted to figure out what was going on, and I hadn't really been thinking about investing in real estate for a little while at that point because I had failed and I had been doing the REO inspections, so I wanted to kind of get back in the swing of things. So I just went to a bunch of those seminars to the point where they're like, sign up, and I was like, no thanks. You know, and I just went on, but I just got some info. You know, and you talk to other people. Lo and behold, I'm sitting next to other people who are also looking to invest in real estate and don't know what they're doing. So you talk to people, you know, and they try to discourage that because they don't want you sort of coalescing together. They want you buying their product. Whatever it is, you know. I went and joined a bunch of stuff when I came down here. And this area I moved to was more closer to Jacksonville. It was like Palm Coast. And so it's not really working out in that sense. But I still learned a lot. I still, you know, formulated plans. It just made things happen, you know.
I think that was good. That's a good point too, because like you mentioned way back just in this conversation about networking and stuff, and it's kind of hard too because it's like for anybody, sometimes the clubs and stuff like that is okay, but you're not necessarily getting the group of people that you want. But that's a great thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to go to the people. Go to
those seminars.
Hang with the people you want to be, not who you are.
Yeah,
who you want to be. You know, if you are who you want to be, then just stay right where you're at.
Exactly.
But otherwise, go find the people who you want to be. You know,
find your demographic. You got to find your demographic
because you will rise or fall to that level of your friends and acquaintances. That is for sure.
That's great though, because it's like, all right, let me go to these little mentor seminars, these real estate things and stuff, and just talk to everybody else there. And these are all like-minded individuals trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do, or this, and then just take that. Like that's more exactly like you said. Those places don't want you talking to each other and stuff.
I mean, if the idea of all that talking is exhausting to you, then real estate might not be for you, because I can't think of a way to successfully do real estate without the ability to at least enjoy making connections with people and talking.
Yeah.
Get into a tech thing. You know what I mean? I know there's a lot of introverted things and huge money being made by people in that. I don't understand any of it, but I know that people are doing it, you know, and that if you don't like talking to people as much, I think you can do that there. But real estate in general, it's not for you if you don't. Yeah. So you should be enthusiastic about this. You should be like, oh, great. That's all I got to do is just talk to people and find things.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like, you know, what is that going to do? But it really is all you need to do.
If it's exhausting, then you're in for a long run.
Yeah, wrong run. You know, you got to do something else, you know. Which is fine. I mean, I couldn't, you know, I go into for a doctor's visit, I get anxiety. I don't know how people, you know, medical doctors, nurses, I don't know how they do what they do. I'm so happy they do it because I don't know how to do that. And I'm scared to death of that crap. It just, I'm not built for that. But tell me to risk a bunch of money on a big venture and everything like that, I'm good, you know. But
and for some reason that made me think of like I heard a good thing. I forgot his name, Simon something. He's this big. He does all these TED Talks and stuff like that. But he mentioned like the introvert and the extrovert, where if they both start on 10 as far as energy or whatever, the introvert the extrovert as they go talk to people, they'll get more. Like they'll come home
more
on 20.
energized. Yeah.
Versus the extrovert might come home on 0 or whatever.
Yep.
Where I think. You're probably more born or meant for this type of business if you are an extrovert. But if you are an introvert and you got the skill and you have the talent, something else you said is, okay, every point you lose going and talking to people, make sure you have an angle. Make sure it's a purposeful conversation. You know what I mean? At the very least, you know, that's definitely something.
And you'll formulate those things as you go. Like I said, the main thing is to just do it. There is an analysis paralysis thing to a lot of people who are like, how do they do it? Or how do you get into this? And you sort of just stay in that world where you're just learning about how to do it, and you don't
do it.
It's kind of like, exactly. And it's marriage is like that too, right? People are like, oh, I'll get married to it, but I got to wait until I have this, until I have that. And there's pros and cons to that. I'm not going to get into that. But the point is that you probably don't want to be that way with business. So you just go do it. And trust me, there doesn't need to be a plan. You'll start to figure out the plan automatically, like unconsciously, as you sort of just navigate in that world, and then things will present themselves.
Unless you're getting a loon unless you're getting a business loan, then they require you to have a plan. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
If you're buying a business or investing in a business, that's totally different.
I'm just messing.
If you're trying to, don't go into the SBA, loan interview.
It's like that, but. Oh, so what's your business plan? I don't know. I'm just gonna figure it out, bro. What do you mean? I'm just gonna figure it out. But can I have $1 million?
I'm just saying, if you're starting with nothing and you're trying to get into real estate, have that mindset. You don't really have to have a big plan. You'll figure it out as you go.
Analysis or paralysis by analysis is like coming up with that plan is kind of doing it, right? Like coming up with the plan to execute is more of a step towards doing it than it is analyzing if it's a good time to even start this plan.
And no matter what, like someone like me or somebody with way more experience or whatever could sit there and tell you step by step, but I'm telling you that is not as good as you unconsciously, sort of subconsciously putting it all together. And that comes from just being in that world and talking to you. You'll start to figure it out and put your plan together. Or you can hear like, first step 1, do this, step 2. And that's like pretend time. That's like you make yourself feel better at night. I read a book and I'm going to do this.
And the steps can change too. The steps can be changed for different people.
You got to throw yourself out there and forget about that stuff. That stuff helps you in the end once you're running, but it's not going to get you running.
Until you get out in the fire, nothing starts cooking. You know what I mean? You got to put yourself out there, right? Like 100%, man. 100%.
Hell yeah, that was good.
That's great, man. Let's get to this weekly success and failure. Man, thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to have you on again.
Absolutely. I'd love to come back. This is kind of fun.
Whenever the time comes, because we did not get to half it, there's a lot of things that we could have got to, but it is what it is. It's great. It's great. Who wants to go first?
You can go first. You haven't gone first in a minute.
Okay, I'll go first. Weekly success for me. This week, I work in the corporate world and stuff like that, and I think it's really easy, especially if you're getting a decent, salary or something like that. It's really easy to get comfortable and think that everything's okay, and not everything is okay, but thinking that it's good enough. And the weird part with the corporate world is like, if you don't ask for something, you ain't getting, right? Like closed mouths don't get fed, and while you're thinking that something is perfect for you, there's somebody else doing in the same company doing what you wish you could do, but because you're okay and you're satisfied with your situation, you don't get what you deserve. And this week, I think I got myself out of my comfort zone, not just with asking for things, but doing things. I've been doing a lot more of this and that. And if you're doing something, if you're doing more, you should ask for more. That's a lot of the big reason why some people hate their jobs and stuff is because they're doers, but they're too scared to ask, or they don't think they deserve certain things or whatever. But that was a success for me. I got out of my comfort zone in both situations. Failure for me would be comparison is a good thing, but it's also a crippling thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you're comparing, you got to be realistic when you're comparing things. I was doing a lot of comparisons. I think social media is one thing too, where you can't help but see people doing what you're doing at like the top level and only seeing the highlights. But I was comparing myself to a lot of things, and I started getting discouraged. So I think that was a failure. It's like, man, do your comparison so you can kind of see where you're at, where you're placing, and then just kind of pull out and then focus and have that tunnel vision. Yeah. So I got to kind of stop that comparison thing that I was doing this week.
Hey, that's good, man. My success would be I'm trying to work out. I'm reading more. So I wasn't working out for a minute since Cloudy came on. I've been trying to get back into that.
Yeah.
So, I just woke up, work out and doing that stuff. Failure would be, I haven't mowed my lawn yet in a while, man. Honestly, I haven't mowed my yard.
Take care of your investment.
I see my neighbors, and I see them over here. They all got beautiful lawns, and I'm just like, fuck, man. I look at my lawn like...
Buy some goats.
That's what I was thinking. Honestly, I'm this close to buying goats, but that's
fun. Some Billy goats are fun as hell, man. They're funny.
I had the land for. I'm just gonna fucking throw them on there, man.
But his fence is only 3 feet tall, so I don't think.
His fence that took 6 months to build. Little chicken wire.
All right. But yes, that's my failure. Only because I've been putting it to the side. I've been wanting to do it since like 2 weeks ago, but I keep getting distracted. So yeah.
All right, cool. So my weekly failure this week is that this week I've been really harsh on myself, and like, I always have these moments, and this has been a failure for me a few times on here, and I always feel like some weeks I just tend to be really harsh on myself. I've always sometimes reminiscent. I'm like, oh, I feel like I could be doing more. I feel like I could be doing this, and I always try to think like I should be here. I should be doing that. If I didn't do this, I could have been that. And I tend to look on the past and like try to figure out what I could do to alter things and kind of catapult myself in the past. And it's like, man, you got to like leave that back there and you got to focus on now. And so that's definitely a failure for myself because I did bring myself down a few times this week. But I've learned how to like kind of like control that and kind of channel that reminiscent, like thinking back, like, oh, I could have done these different things to be in a better position. I've kind of learned how to channel that and turn it into like a drive and motivation, kind of a little bit of a sense. So I think that's kind of like a little bit of a success for me, but that's not gonna be my weekly success. I do want to say my weekly success is that I think right now we pretty much have landed like our first thing for like the shop. So we got him with like we got him with
Put
like
the applause on for that one.
Yes,
man.
yes sir. So
we're doing merch, guys. If you know anybody or if you yourself want to do some merch or something, let us know because we're doing it at a competitive price, high quality, low cost.
Yes, sir.
It's something we invested in for ourselves, but it's like we have all these people on, and even if the podcast does nothing, at the very least, we need to capitalize on all these people we're getting
and all the equipment that we got too.
Yeah,
so
merchandise.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so we got in with a fitness company, Fantasy Fitwear. Check them out. They do like leggings for like females for working out for that. So definitely check them out. But we're going to be doing the printing for their stuff. We're doing like the prototyping right now. We're going to try to see what works best because they're rolling out some new product here shortly. So stay tuned for that. They're going to have some dope stuff coming. But yeah, so we're working on the prototyping, and so by the time you guys hear this in about a couple weeks, they'll probably be releasing everything. But we're doing the printing for them, so that's definitely a success because I'm happy that we got that locked in.
I love that it's a byproduct of the podcast because like I mean, a year ago we were just talking about like we want to do something like we want to put good stuff out there. We want to talk about growing and getting better and stuff. And I think like these three minds are totally different, but in the same way, kind of working towards the same thing.
Exactly. So,
and I love that this merchandise thing is just a byproduct. Because it's like just do it, get yourself in there, do something that you want to do, and then you never know what could happen. And I like these certain things.
Exactly. Yep. And it's just a step because anybody that wants to, like you said, anybody that's looking to get anything done, let us know. We can pretty much for the most part do anything, and if not, we can probably like what's the word I'm looking for.
Accommodate.
There you go. I wanted to say company, but accommodate whatever you guys want to get done. But yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. We're going to be dropping showing you guys what we can do for you guys here shortly. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Hell yeah!
All right. What about you, man? What's your success and failure? You got one?
Yeah. Not a huge deal, but so one of the things that I have a tendency to do sometimes, just because I drive all over the place, Tampa, Ocala. Yeah. I'll overqualify sometimes people on the phone. Meaning, what I mean by that is that I'll figure out that I got to drive 2 hours to see these people and that they don't sound like they really have any need for me, and they're just going to end up in a situation where they just got to sell through a realtor, and I'll subconsciously just sabotage the call,
Yeah.
And I was informed about that. The last meeting we talked about, you got to get your lead percentage, the amount of leads you convert to appointments over 50% ideally. And so this week I've done that.
Nice.
Past week. So
good.
I don't care. I just am not going to let them talk me out of going there because you never know. Again, don't try to judge it. And so I've been proud of that. My failure, I share your failure in the sense that my lawn care is lawn care, but like he's seen the back of my place. It's just I don't do anything in my house. I just don't have time.
You got those screens replaced though, so that's a good
screens were replaced. Yeah. It looked like a nuclear wasteland back there, like a post-apocalyptic back screen. But now it's new. But that wasn't me. But so there's that. But work-life balance, is very hard. It's challenging for me with all the kids and whatnot to make sure I spend enough time with everybody. And I was probably a bit of a failure last week, so I gotta work on that.
Hell yeah, man! Definitely. I love that. We like taking the incremental successes and failures. For us, it's weekly, so we have to take it to an incremental state. But
awesome.
That was freaking good. Yep. And I really like what you said, like overqualifying somebody on the phone and like giving them reasons for you not to, because there's a big difference, especially if you're a talker and you're good with people.
Yeah.
Phone versus in person, man.
Oh
my God! Just get me in person, and I promise you, I have a 80% more success rate of making that appointment.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you have to mentally make sure you do not like overqualify, that you do not like assume anything, because people, frankly, from our side of the business, I don't mean this in a bad way, but we just assume people are lying.
Oh yeah, of course.
And not because they're bad people. It's just that everybody does that. They go in going like, oh, this guy's trying to you go to a car dealership, you're going to lie all the time because you think
Yeah.
the car dealer's trying to snap, and we're not trying to do that, but I understand people do it. So you should not take what they say seriously anyway. It's just like, let's just make an appointment and let's get over there and really figure out what's going on.
Get to the real shit.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's pretty much it. You guys want to add anything?
Nah, man. Great convo, great episode. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yep. And thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely. But as always, guys, we do appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for tuning another week. If you guys listen all the way through, we do appreciate you guys. And as always, we're going to have contact information down below. So we're going to go ahead and have Brian's information down below. So if you guys are looking to sell a property or anything like that, go ahead and hit him up. He can go ahead and get you guys settled out and stuff like that, and see if maybe you guys work together, be a good fit. Or maybe if you're working and if you have leads or something like that for him, hit him up, man. Because if you guys have leads, I'm sure he'll be one to pay out for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely. So if you guys have anything or you know somebody, hit him up or anything like that. But I think that's pretty much it. You guys want to add anything?
That's it, man.
All right, guys.
Watch out.
Pocket watch out, guys.